Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some and peace out to the rest of you. The blackest hearted, blackest minded, blackest man on social media, signing black in and shining again. So hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Look, I'm gonna tell y'all straight. I am very pleased to find out about Tiffany Banner's channel. So far, I'm going to try to listen to more. Apparently, she's 19 and she moved back home to the motherland. 19. And she doesn't let women of African descent disparage men of African descent as a whole. She certainly does not let women of African descent put other non-African men on pedestals above us. I'm with Mrs. Banner. If she doesn't already have someone in mind, I would like to train my son to be able to think as sharply as she does. My son has the material to do it. I just think he needs a different input. I'd be willing to train him. Hey, son, look, here's what we do. Because even if he's not her type or she's not his type and those two don't wind up with each other and she doesn't become my daughter-in-law, okay, even if that's the case, fine, all right? If other men did the same thing, she'd have the options that a woman like her deserves. And if we did this, more sons would be aware of the options that they deserve. And they would know what they deserve. See, right now, a lot of black men that deserve better options don't even know they deserve it. And so normally I wouldn't put the name of, I wouldn't normally put names in my videos of someone that doesn't know I exist unless I let them know ahead of time I'm doing it. But in this case, I'm giving credit. Even though I do disagree with Oshay Duke Jackson about something, I want to give him credit because he got me wise to Tiffany Banner. And Tiffany is about to find out that I put her name in the video, also giving her compliments. I'm pretty much giving her credit and compliments for not doing to African-American men what I will do to Western women, period. I know it sounds one-sided, doesn't it? I'm aware of that. And I have a strong sense of justice. So I'll let you put together what that means about why I would have a strong sense of justice and fair play and yet still give her credit and complimenting her for doing the opposite of what I do with Western women. You'll figure that out. And if you don't, then let me go ahead and help you. Because I'm right and so is she. That's why. And in order for that to be the case, one side has to make a decision that is morally worse than the decision that the other side has made. That's how a category becomes worse than another category. It can be based on biology and things that are involuntary and beyond one's control, can it? You get the idea now. So that being said, listen. That's why it is that I want to say to Brother Duke Jackson, thank you for putting me on to the channel. Now, Oshay, your intention was to be fair and balanced to both sides. So may Allah reward you for that, and I mean that literally. I'm not saying Allah as a dusty hotep or a dusty no-tep. I'm saying it as a practicing Muslim. But there's nothing to correct men about. I'm not saying there's that hatred. I'm just saying it as what I've been able to observe. I think you and I are about 10 years apart, so I understand if the difference in age accounts for the difference in our observations. That's very possible. And if so, I would stand corrected. If there are more men in your age group than what I previously thought that actually are upholding specifically white women above black women, then I stand corrected. I just haven't been able to observe the difference. I've been gone from the U.S. for 6 years, and I admit that. I've only been back to visit 5 times since, but what I'm getting at here is that black men, all I've been able to observe is that black men, even when they get tired of sisters, don't necessarily uphold white women above them. Now, teenagers, I've heard about them doing it, but I don't hang around teenagers in any country, except my son and my daughters. I don't hang around teens. So amongst teenagers, that might be the case, and I'm not addressing whether it is or not because it would take some of them to tell me. But amongst adult black men, I don't hear them uphold white women like they're better. I just don't. Amongst black women, I have begun to hear them uphold specifically white men like they're better. And I'm gonna give an example of why it is that I don't think that this is an equal thing why I'm recommending that we be one-sided in this and more selfish in how we tackle it. It's about the options that women have that men don't. And I mean, they start their lives off with options. They start their lives off with too many options. I used to wonder why my first ex-wife thought about men the way she did. Then I heard her telling someone on the phone a story about how she got followed home by someone in a car when she was 12 or 13, and I realized, oh, that's why. Penis is so cheap to her. It's so cheap. I get it. Well, by the same token, I was talking to a boss of mine back in 2017 in the spring. And he's African American. He's not my boss now. He moved to another job, but at the time he was, and I was somewhat new, so we sat down, we chopped it up a little bit, and he was pretty much just saying, look, I know you're African American until you're here in the Gulf, and you're Muslim, so you've pretty much migrated at this point. Are you hearing ignorant things coming from these people? And I said to him, yes, I am. He said to me, are you facing a lot of isolation? I told him I'm not anymore. I was back in the last city I lived in. Since I've come here, no. He said, okay, that's great, because when I first got here years ago, there were hardly any black people at all, except for some locals. I mean, you know, the black locals are very rare. He said, when I first got here, it was very isolating. At this point, you don't have to be, but I didn't know if you knew who the others were and who they weren't. I told him, alhamdulillah, I've been able to come across them. And he said, okay, that's good, that's excellent. He said to me, I heard that you were married, but I heard that you were married to an American, and then I heard you were married to a lady in North Africa. Are you married to two? I said, no, not at the same time. I was married to an American, then I was married to a North African consecutively. And he said, okay, all right, well, he told me, he said to me, you're young and you may look to marry again, and I'll be honest with you. As an African American, I can tell you that the best ones to marry here are the Filipinas. And I said to him, I've heard about that before. I'm not against them. I just don't really have an opinion one way or another because I don't know much about them, except that the men and the women have been very polite and very nice. That's all I know. And I know a little bit of the language. And he said to me, listen, I've only known of one African American man that divorced a Filipino woman. And the reason he divorced her was the last reason you'd suspect. So, of course, my eyes got big, Mr. Jackson, and I leaned into this guy, and I said, like, what could that be? And he told me, he said to me, Black, the reason he divorced her was because, see, when he came home from work, dinner was almost ready, and there would be a tub of water, because they had a tub and not just a shower, but a tub. So a tub was ready for him to go in, rinse off, and then he could sit down and eat. And she would ask him, you know, you need a back massage, you straight? He said that he was treated so well that he felt he was taking advantage of her. He said he knew he didn't deserve it. And he had grown up raised by his mom, older sister, aunts, and they were pretty hard on him growing up. So he, you know, felt he didn't deserve it by the time he met her. And he was like, she was good. But I knew, I knew, Aki, that I didn't deserve it. And so he divorced her. That's the only time an African American's divorced a Filipino. And then he told me that he himself, telling me the story, was married to a Filipina, and they had two boys. One was about to go into college. He said, I'm happy, I'm spoiled. I can't go into too many details, but I'm happy, bro. And she knows Filipinas that are looking to get married. and they're Muslim too. So, and some of them prefer black men. What I'm saying, Mr. Jackson, is that when brothers are with women of other shades and other backgrounds and things like that, it's not because we sold sisters out. It's because they drove us off. And many of us, when we try to stay true, we feel like we don't really deserve much better. Like the guy that he told me about that married a Filipino, was spoiled, and then divorced her, and it wasn't her fault. And he admitted he knew it. But he thought he was taking advantage of her. He felt guilty because of how she treated him. Mr. Jackson, do you know what I would have done when I was younger if a woman did stuff like that for me? I would have tried to spoil her in exchange. And I'm married now, and I'm being spoiled, and I try to spoil her in return. But I was also fortunate in that I was not raised to think that I ain't shit and I don't deserve nothing because I'm a black male. I got that message from outside of my home, but not from inside my house. Nobody in my house ever confirmed that message for me. But outside, I did get this message. And the older I got, the more I got it. And as a matter of fact, as I got older, I got even more messages. You don't deserve none because you're a heterosexual black male, and you deserve even less than other black men do because you're not even recognizably black. That message came as I got older, but that's a different story. But what I'm saying, Brother Jackson, is that we black men do not need correction. I know it sounds very narcissistic, one-sided when I say it. I know it sounds like that. But I have a very sharp sense of justice and fair play, like most people do. So for me to say this, that black women do need correction that Tiffany Banner gave them, a lot of them do. And the ones that don't have actually been silenced by the ones that Tiffany Banner was talking to. But yet, we black men don't need correction. For me to say this means that I have observed with my own two eyes that black men don't deserve this. We do not need the correction. We're not starting off trying to run after other women. Teenage boys, maybe so. We get older, we tend to outgrow this stuff. Nothing like a black woman. With sisters, it's like, let me go for a specific kind of black man that's probably no more than 14% of the population. He's out here effing everybody else, but I want my turn too. I want to try to be the one to lock him down. Oh, damn it, that didn't work. He won't commit to me either. Okay, niggas ain't shit. And let me go and but I got these kids, so let me go and get one of these old square Negroes to raise the kids and court me and ask me to marry him and validate me in all the ways that this 14% or less Negro would not do. That's what we're dealing with. We're not playing these games with them. They're playing that game with us. What we're saying is, if you're going to go through a whole phase, you're not going to come to us after that whole phase. If you're going to go through a whole phase, you better come to us during that whole phase while you're young and tight. You will not give us any worse than you give to a Negro that's worse than us. That's not going to happen. Now, I don't tell black men, look, go abroad and trick. I don't recommend that. I don't even recommend dating in general. I recommend marriage. But I will tell brothers, go abroad, get you a black woman from outside the West, get you another non-white woman from outside the West if that's the one that likes you the most. I tell black men, leave them white women alone. Leave them alone, leave them alone, leave them alone. I say this. But when brothers do put other women on pedestals, they're usually just putting non-Western, non-feminist women on pedestals above Western feminist women. I don't really observe black men putting white women specifically on pedestals above black women. And a lot of brothers I see, they're not even putting non-black women on pedestals above black women. They go to Brazil for the black Brazilians. Even if she is light-skinned, they still go for the black Brazilians. They go to the Dominican Republic and they're dealing with black Dominicans. I mean, that's an African country. They just might have trouble with you calling them African. But from what, everybody tells me, that's changing. Every generation of Dominicans seems to be more proud of their black blood than the previous one. That's what it seems to be. If brothers do go to Haiti to get them sisters, then they will be talked about for going to Haiti to take advantage and smut out the more tropical sisters. So it's not really a win situation for us that we can take. We're being blamed no matter what, and it's not our fault. And a lot of ladies are being let off the hook no matter what, and it is their fault. Women have options that we don't have, sir. That's why we look at them as sluts when they go through a hoe phase. Most men never get the option to go through a hoe phase, even if women find them attractive. They don't get to go through a hoe phase. They have options, sir. With options comes responsibility. They need to be held accountable. We don't. There's one thing for which we do need to be held accountable, and we're already holding each other accountable for that. We make it too goddamn easy from a young age. That's why it is that we're facing, that's part of why we're facing what we're facing. I mean, a lot of women in the West, they get followed by guys in cars when they're 12 and 13. They got these guys too old for them trying to get at them. That sends a signal to them very early in life. Penis is free. Matter of fact, it's a negative value. And that's what shapes a lot of this. That's why it is that they feel comfortable demanding mutually exclusive things from men, satisfy my feminism and my hypergamy. Them two don't go together. And they'll tell you you got to satisfy both. Or they'll show you got to satisfy both. You got to be Superman, and I'm just going to sit back and be Lois Lane. I'm going to be a ditzy, regular, run-of-the-mill woman with no superpowers, but who asserts independence and always becomes in need of a rescue. And you have to be this superhuman, matter of fact, super non-human that comes in and gives me a supernatural rescue every time for me to even validate you. But the regular man that you're going to be a lot of the times, I'm not going to validate. And matter of fact, I'm going to view him as a wimp unconditionally, even if he's not a wimp. Less than a man. That's the message being sent to us. We're not sending this message to women at all. What we're saying is, can you be attractive, which is subjective anyway, behave well with us like a good companion, and drain our testes, which you want to do for somebody else anyway. That's what we're saying. And there's nothing mutually exclusive about any two of those three things. And they're looking at us and saying, ain't no goddamn way you're going to get all three. You ain't even going to get two. You're not getting 2 out of 3. If I look like anything, I'm not screwing you and I'm going to treat you like trash. That's what they're saying to most men out there. Most 87% of men. You can ask Obsidian about that. Obsidian knows the stats from dating websites that show this. They're doing this. And that's Western white women or Western black women for the most part. The ones that don't do this get silenced. And that's part of why Tiffany Banner had to record this from the motherland. I'm not blaming her. She did the right thing. She had to. But imagine her living in the States, showing her face on camera and saying this. Oh my God. Can you imagine how they would have canceled her? She said they might cancel her anyway, but if she was stateside, they would definitely cancel her. And if they recognized her out in public, they would come up to her and beat her. Not just call her a pick-me and a pick-me-shit, they would beat the snot out of her. I'm sorry, I'm not raising my voice because I'm angry with you, Oshay. But part of the reason I'm raising it is because there's an echo in the room and there's also a fan, so I'm not sure what the mic picks up, and I'm just trying to make sure it picks up my voice and my content better. But yeah, man, I know we're trained to think that the manly thing to do is to take accountability, because that is the manly thing to do when you're guilty. But as a whole, we men are not guilty. We men are a mix. We got the guilty, we got the neutral, and we got the really innocent. We got all along the spectrum, and we're fairly evenly distributed along that spectrum as men. Western women, no, they're not. I'm sorry, they're just not. Women around the world, sure, but Western women, so few of them are even not guilty. Because as Tiffany Banner said, she'll get canceled. That tells you something. That means that the majority of them are with the bull. I mean the BS. Most of them are with this, I'm going to bring feminism and hypergamy, and you have to satisfy these two mutually exclusive pulls on my life, and you need to be superhuman, and I'm going to be a ditzy, run-of-the-mill mortal woman with all the problems, and you're going to deal with them. That's what they're bringing. That's what they're offering, and want you to feel bad, because in the West, they're bringing this, and then in the West, the sisters bring in more of an attitude early on from day one. Now, the white Western woman will bring that attitude later. They do it, I know, but they don't start off with that. That's why a lot of brothers that are young really don't know the difference. They really don't know that Becky is going to do worse. They really are not aware of that. When they're young, I don't blame them. They don't know. Because remember, men don't start really getting a lot of experience with women at a young age. They're trying, of course, but we know how that goes. But women, I mean, they can start learning. They don't even have to know about men, and yet the information is available for them to know about men from a young age, because they're the ones being pursued. I mean, they could still look like kids. Stuff a little cotton in, you know, wear a bra for no reason and stuff a little cotton into it, still got braces and pigtails, and some sicko's gonna follow them, and that's gonna send a message to her: these niggas are cheap. Matter of fact, they desperate for me. And no one's gonna stop her and say to her, well, that dude in the car that was 28 following behind you probably didn't know how old you were, but he knew you were younger than him. That's first thing. Secondly, that dude is an aberration. But he's going to follow your friends around, so you all are going to all have the same experience, even though he and his kind are rare. All of you are going to meet them because they don't stop approaching one and the other. No one sits them down and tells them this. So in their minds, no, men are just too easy, and we do make things too easy. That's what we need to take accountability for, Mr. Jackson. We shouldn't be trying to holler at anybody, really. That's where that comes about. And it's the same thing where you're living right now in Uganda. When a woman that's got them yams has a lot on her mind as to what you got to bring to the table, you know, when that happens, man, you take them with them yams and they got an attitude as well. That's because they get too easily approached. They just go outside and somebody's trying to holler at them. And that's what the problem, that's what it comes in. Because what we men really need accountability for is making it too easy. Why don't we fuck the shuck up? Why don't we raise our standards? Why don't we question them? Why don't we feel too good to be in a car following behind somebody? Actually, most of us actually do feel better about ourselves than that. Most of us would never be in our 20s in a car following behind somebody that's 12 walking home from a bus stop, like what happened to my first ex. Trying to convince them to give up the phone number and take yours. Most of us wouldn't. No, most of us wouldn't. But the thing is, why is it that we don't feel so conceited that we don't even stop and say, well, when I was 12, no woman ever followed me from a car, so why the F would I, now in my 20s, use my car to go follow some 12-year-old trying to get at her? If we're going to take accountability for anything, we've already done it, and that is making things too easy. And a lot of us are saying we ain't going to make it easy no more. And when we get resources that they want us to have, we're going to take these resources somewhere else where they're not feminist. So right now, most of us are in a stage where we're rewarding whoever's not a feminist for not being a feminist and for treating us well. And, you know, we'll probably move on into other stages. I hope so, because I ain't with the tricking anyway. But, I mean, we don't really need to take accountability for how we promote Becky above Sapphire. A lot of us don't, even though the stereotype is that they're better and nicer and sweeter and all that stuff. A lot of us still don't put them on a pedestal. Because a lot of us got common sense enough to know that this problem actually came from white folks, like what Sister Banner just told us. And thanks, man, for getting me hip to her channel. I'm going to listen to more, and I hope my son can be, and he can be, but I hope my son gets that sharp despite his age and finds someone like her. I really do. Thanks a million, man. Sister Banner, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate that. I agree with Brother Jackson. If I was in the country with you, I would, not as a romantic gesture, but I'd probably take you shopping too. And I ain't going front. I'd probably be trying to big up my son in your eyes as well. But that's because I'm a selfish parent. So anyway, best of luck to you. And I'll check out more of your videos to see, you know, where you're living in Africa and how it is. And if I get any questions, I'll send them to you. You all take care. Black heart, black mind, black out, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual thinking, classical, non-select male power, just because they don't like it.